Hi, I'm Lachlan and this is...
I'm Wilhelm. I'm head of the Core Quality Assurance Department at Opera Software.
Yep, and welcome to another episode of Standards Suck. Okay, we're here today to talk about test suites. What is the purpose of a test suite?
A test suite, the purpose of a test suite is to show or demonstrate whether or not a given piece of software does what it's supposed to do, whether it performs the tasks it's supposed to do in a correct manner.
Okay, and why are they important?
Well, you want to make sure that your product actually works. If you build a web browser, you want it to be compatible with the web and render web pages the way they're supposed to be rendered.
Okay, so you want to, when you build a browser, you want to make sure it actually works before you give it to users and then they come back and complain.
Yes, correct.
Right, cool. So when you're writing a test suite for a spec, how many tests would you expect to have in that test suite?
Ideally, infinite. There's billions of web pages out there that we need to be compatible with, but more realistically, a good test suite consists of, well, a few thousands of tests.
Wow, that's really a lot of effort.
It is. The web is large and complicated, and yeah.
Yeah. And so, what kind of tests are there? What are the different types?
The most important tests are conformance tests that allows you to check whether a browser is in compliance with a specification or requirements or not. We also create tests for reverse engineering browsers to see what they actually do. They don't always follow the specification. Much because specifications often are not as detailed as they should be. There are large areas which might be undefined, and one browser does one thing, and a different browser does something else. And well, we need to figure out what they do and how we can be compatible with.
Right, so we write a demo test case and we run it in the various different browsers and see what they do, and then we copy that behavior.
If it makes sense, yes.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. So, what kind of things need to be tested in a good test suite?
Well, everything. You need to test everything you want to do, and you want to test all the edge cases where you don't get the data you expect. So we need to be compatible with both valid web pages and invalid web pages. There's all kinds of horrible tools and incompetent web developers out there that, well, we still need to render the web pages. They work in IE, so they need to work in our browser as well.
So we need to have good error handling implemented and defined in the spec.
Yes, absolutely. Because what happened in previous generations of browsers is that error handling was largely undefined, and each browser came up with their own way to do things, causing the web to be, well, more painful than it could have been.
Right, so that's how we got in the mess we are in today.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so there's also the acid tests that we've all heard of. Like ACID 3 came out recently.
Yep.
What is the purpose of that? Tell us about it.
The acid tests let you see immediately whether you're doing well on a test or not so well. Normally a test suite consists of thousands of individual tests that you can't really put all on one screen, but the acid tests let you combine a lot of smaller tests into one big test, and it's immediately visible whether you have a good result or a bad result.
Okay, so you get a fancy picture or animation with acid tests,
yes,
and you know it tests a lot of different things.
Yes.
Whereas in a normal test case, just tests one thing.
Say you have a bug which is revealed by this test, then you need to dig out the specific part that causes this bug and make a smaller test case testing just that part.
Okay then, all right. So what makes up a good test case?
Make it as simple as possible. It should be possible within half a second for a tester to just look at the test case, how it's rendered, and determine whether it's a pass or a fail, whether the result is good or bad. And you should test only one thing in each test case, preferably, unless you're doing a composite acid test. So that you know that if this test is failing, then you know exactly what the problem is. Okay,
right. So I hear you're also involved with the mobile web testing. What does that involve?
Yes, in a working group at the W3C, we're currently building what we call the web compatibility test for mobile browsers, which is a grid of 16 tests that each test whether a given browser supports one or more web technologies. So it ranges from really simple stuff that any browser should support to really difficult stuff that even some desktop browsers are having trouble with. The intention of this is to point out that there is one web, and mobile browsers should support anything, as long as the hardware allows to, anything that desktop browsers support. So whether you use a mobile phone, a gaming console, or whatever to browse the web, you should still get the same experience as if you were using your own PC.
Right, that would be really cool, being able to browse a real web page on a mobile.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Wilhelm. This has been another episode of Standard Suck. See ya.